In 1745, a Scottish woman named Jean Mercer planted a row of beech trees with her husband Robert. A few months later, Robert marched to war. He never came home. He died at the Battle of Culloden in 1746. Jean never trimmed those trees. She let them grow toward the heavens, a living memorial to the man she lost. Today, 280 years later, that hedge stands 30 meters tall and stretches a third of a mile. It's the tallest hedge on Earth. That's the kind of story Scotland holds, not just records and oddities, but meaning buried beneath the surface. This is a country with a 2-meter street, a 53-second flight, and a buried city beneath Edinburgh. A country where cars roll uphill, dinosaurs once roamed subtropical beaches, and 150,000 seabirds turn a volcanic rock white every summer. Scotland doesn't just break the rules of geography, it operates on different physics entirely. Start with a street in Wick, a small town on Scotland's northeastern coast. Ebenezer Place measures exactly 2.06 meters. That's 6 feet 9 inches. 1 centimeter shorter than LeBron James is tall. There's only one address on this street, Number 1 Bistro, which is part of Mackay's Hotel. In 1883, a businessman named Alexander Sinclair built the hotel after making his fortune in America. When the local council told him he had to give the shortest side of his building a street name, he probably thought it was a joke. It wasn't. In 1887, Ebenezer Place became an official street. In 2006, Guinness confirmed what locals already knew. It's the shortest street on Earth. The previous record holder? Elgin Street in England. Scotland took that title and hasn't looked back. But Scotland doesn't just collect records on land. In the Orkney Islands, there's a flight that takes off and lands before you've finished adjusting your seatbelt. Westray to Papa Westray. Distance, 2.7 kilometers. That's roughly the length of Edinburgh Airport's runway. Normal flight time, 90 seconds. But when the wind is right, pilot Stuart Linklater once made the crossing in just 53 seconds. Linklater flew this route over 12,000 times before retiring in 2013. 12,000 flights. 1.3 million miles in the air. All on a journey shorter than most people's morning commute. The plane is a Briton-Norman Islander, 8 passengers plus the pilot. No flight attendants, no drink service, just a brief lift into the sky and back down again. Passengers who complete the journey receive a certificate. Some get a small bottle of whiskey. Why does this flight exist? Because Papa Westray has about 90 residents who need to reach the mainland. Students, medical workers, people visiting the island's 60 archaeological sites. For them, this 53-second hop isn't a novelty. It's a lifeline. That's what makes Scotland's records different. They're not stunts. The shortest street exists because a hotel needed an address. The shortest flight exists because an island needed connection. Even the world's tallest hedge, the one planted by Jean Mercer in 1745, exists because a widow needed to grieve. And there's more. Scotland has the world's only rotating boat lift, a machine that lifts ships 24 meters into the air using the same energy as boiling 8 kettles of water. We'll get to that. But first, we need to go underground, because Edinburgh, a city that looks perfectly normal from above, is hiding something beneath its streets. Something that's been buried for over 250 years. Walk down Edinburgh's Royal Mile today, and you're walking on a ceiling. Beneath your feet lies Mary King's Close, a 17th century street that hasn't seen natural light since 1753. The buildings here once stood 14 to 15 stories tall, Edinburgh's first skyscrapers. When the city ran out of space inside its defensive walls, it built upward. Those buildings grew old, cramped, associated with death. The city didn't demolish them, it built on top of them. In 1645, plague swept through these streets. The popular story claims residents were bricked inside their homes and left to die. That's a myth. The truth is darker in a different way. They were quarantined, yes, but not abandoned. George Brae, Edinburgh's plague doctor, walked these streets in his beaked mask, tending to the sick, watching them die one by one. Today, tourists visit a room where a psychic once claimed to sense the ghost of a 10-year-old girl named Annie. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, the room is filled with toys. Visitors leave them, hundreds of dolls, teddy bears, small offerings to a child who died 4 centuries ago. But Mary King's Close isn't Edinburgh's only buried secret. In 1985, a former Scottish rugby international named Norrie Rowan was renovating his pub near South Bridge when he discovered a passageway behind a wall. It led to a network of over 120 underground rooms, vaults built in the 1780s beneath the bridge's 19 arches. These spaces had been workshops, storage rooms, taverns. Then, as Edinburgh grew and the vaults flooded with damp, they became something else. Slums. The poorest residents of the city lived here in total darkness, burning fish oil for light, with no sanitation, no ventilation, no hope. An entire city, ozone in time beneath your feet. But Edinburgh's strangest secret isn't underground, and it isn't even visible. It's something you have to feel to believe. There's a stretch of road on the A719 just south of a village called Dinosaur, where something impossible happens. Put your car in neutral, take your foot off the brake, and watch as your vehicle rolls uphill. It's called Electric Brae. The name comes from Victorian visitors who assumed some magnetic or electrical force was pulling their carriages against gravity. They were wrong about the cause, but they weren't wrong about what they saw. The road genuinely appears to slope downward when it actually climbs. Over a quarter mile, the elevation rises 17 feet, but your eyes refuse to believe it. The surrounding landscape, the angle of the trees, the curve of the horizon, everything conspires to create one of the most convincing optical illusion in the world. Scotland even has a stone marker explaining the phenomenon, because the metal signs kept getting stolen. But the best story about Electric Brae involves a name you wouldn't expect: Dwight D. Eisenhower. During the Second World War, the future American president lived at Culzean Castle, just a few miles from this spot. The castle had been gifted to him by the Scottish people in gratitude for his wartime leadership. And when distinguished guests came to visit, Eisenhower had a favorite trick. He would drive them to Electric Brae, stop the car, release the brake, and watch their faces as the vehicle began rolling the wrong way. The supreme commander of the Allied forces, showing off a Scottish optical illusion to world leaders. Even gravity, it seems, works differently here. But if Scotland can fool your eyes, it can also fool your sense of time. Because 166 million years ago, this land wasn't even Scotland. The Isle of Skye is famous for its dramatic landscapes, jagged peaks, moody lochs, the kind of scenery that makes people reach for their cameras. But look down instead of up, and you'll find something far stranger. Look at the rocks along Skye's coastline. You'll find footprints, 3-toed impressions, some the size of car tires. They were made by dinosaurs, and they're between 165 and 170 million years old. This isn't a single discovery. The Isle of Skye holds 15% of all Middle Jurassic dinosaur fossils ever found on Earth. One Scottish island holds more dinosaur evidence from that era than entire continents. In 2001, dog walkers stumbled across the first footprints at Encoran Beach. Since then, researchers have found hundreds more at sites across the island: Brothers Point, Skye Bay, Duntulm. One location has so many overlapping prints from different species that scientists nicknamed it the Dinosaur disco. And they're still finding more. In 2025, a team announced 131 newly discovered footprints at a site called Prince Charles's Point. But here's what makes this genuinely strange. 166 million years ago, Scotland wasn't where it is now. It wasn't even close. The land that would become Skye sat south of the equator, part of a supercontinent that included what is now North America. The climate was subtropical. Think Florida, not the highlands. Warm, shallow seas, lagoons, beaches where sauropods, those long-necked giants, left their tracks in the mud. The ground beneath your feet on Skye once lay on the other side of the planet. A local crofter named Dugald Ross understood this before most. In 1976, he established the Staffin Dinosaur Museum to preserve and display the fossils that kept appearing on his island. Today, visitors can see bones, teeth, and footprints from creatures that walked this land when it was a tropical paradise. And then there's the Quarrying, Britain's largest area of landslip, where the ground itself is still moving. A landscape so alien it's been used as a stand-in for other planets in films. Scotland's past is written into every rock. But the most astonishing thing about this country isn't ancient. It's alive right now, on a volcanic plug in the Firth of Forth, and David Attenborough called it one of the wildlife wonders of the world. 3 miles off the coast of North Berwick, a volcanic plug rises from the Firth of Forth. It's called Bass Rock, and every summer it turns white. Not from snow, not from paint. From birds. 150,000 northern gannets descend on this single rock, 10% of the entire world's population. They cover every surface. They fill every ledge. From a distance, the rock doesn't look like rock at all. It looks like it's been bleached. Up close, it's overwhelming. A wall of noise and motion. Wings everywhere. The smell of fish and guano thick in the air. Birds packed so tightly you can barely see the stone beneath. A city of 150,000 built on a rock smaller than a football pitch. These are the largest seabirds in the British Isles. 2-meter wingspans. Bright white feathers with black-tipped wings. And when they hunt, they transform. A gannet spots a fish from 30 meters up. It folds its wings back, tucks its head, and drops. Straight down, 100 kilometers per hour, a living missile, piercing the water and diving 20 meters deep in a single strike. Now multiply that by 150,000. This colony consumes 200 tons of fish every single day. 60% of all the gannets in Europe breed in Scotland. And this rock, this 340 million year old volcanic remnant, is their capital. Sir David Attenborough called Bass Rock one of the 12 wildlife wonders of the world. He's filmed in every corner of the planet. He's seen things most humans never will. And he put this Scottish rock on a list with the Serengeti, the Great Barrier Reef, the Amazon. The rock itself disappears under birds. And when you see it, you understand. Scotland doesn't just break geographical rules, it breaks biological ones too. Remember that hedge? The one Jean Mercer planted with her husband in 1745? It's still growing. 280 years later. 30 meters tall, 530 meters long. A third of a mile of beech trees reaching toward the sky because a widow refused to let them be cut. The longest gravestone on earth for a man who never came home from Culloden. That's Scotland. Records that carry meaning. Oddities that tell stories. A country where the impossible isn't just possible, it's ordinary. And nowhere captures this better than the Falkirk Wheel, the world's only rotating boat lift, a machine that raises ships 24 meters into the air, carrying 500,000 liters of water in each gondola. The energy required to do this? 1.5 kilowatt hours, the same as boiling 8 kettles. Scotland doesn't follow the rules. It writes its own. And if you think Scotland's geography is strange, wait until you see what's hiding in the depths of its lochs. There's a reason people have been searching for something in those waters for centuries. That story is next.